It's fine. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another Cuppa Tea with the Vet. Hi. And we've got Abby on today, and Abby Davis is from Eastcott Vets in Swindon. And so thank you, Abby, for joining us. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name's Abby. I have been a vet for 7 years, and I've just been at Eastcott for the past nearly a year now. But I've been working in emergency and critical care now for 5 years. So I started off with Vets Now, which is an out-of-hours company a lot of people will know.
That's who I was with.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And I went to them through their sort of training program for qualified vets who want to concentrate more on out of hours. Stayed with them for a number of years, and just joined Eastcott in their ICU in January, and I've been there doing emergency stuff ever since.
Well done. That's amazing. And yeah, that's a really lovely background. It's really nice to see that you just wanted to focus on your emergency work and your night work, actually, because that's quite a rare thing that not many people realise that they can even do that. So, that it's just brilliant. But it's a totally different way of working, isn't it? Especially being there at night.
Yeah, that's one of the things I like about it, to be honest. I've always been someone who probably works a bit better at night than during the day. I prefer staying up late than getting up early, which is one of the attractions.
I understand that. But and to be fair, well done for figuring it out before you tried to slug through all the morning. So I think that's reasonable, but still tiring in the morning. And bless you, it does mean your evenings are now full of work, so you haven't managed to actually decorate your tree.
No, I know. It looks really sad, doesn't it? No, too much work, not enough tree decorating. That's going to change soon, though. Next few days, I'll get it sorted.
I hope so. Yeah. I hope so. We're going to have loads of people commenting on how to best decorate your tree really super fast.
Yeah, bring it on, definitely.
So I just want to say a lovely hello and thank you for joining us to our audience, because we've got loads of watchers already, which is fantastic. And we've got Barbara, who has said hello from Switzerland with fresh snow in the garden. Oh my God, I'm so jealous.
Lovely.
That's just, they keep threatening snow here, don't they? But it doesn't actually happen.
No,
so,
really sad.
No, that's amazing. And Laura has said emergency vet and given you loads of hearts, which is lovely. So yes, no, that's wonderful. So what do you like to do in your spare time other than obviously decorating your tree?
Spare time. So, well, I think I have a daughter who's nearly 2 years old, so she keeps me extremely busy. Vast majority of my spare time is spent looking after her, which is lovely. Otherwise, I love my horse riding. I do it when I can. I don't have a horse at the moment, what with the baby and everything, but I really like horse riding. I've done that for a long time. That's actually why I became a vet initially, was because I wanted to be able to look after my own horse if I was ever in that position. And now I've ended up in small animal, and now I would still need to call a vet out for my horse anyway. But and what else? I really like reading. And I'm also a bit of a geek. I really like video games and cinema and stuff as well.
Oh, wow. That's lovely. And you've then obviously gone and sprung into the next question, which was going to be what made you become a vet? But now I'm going to evolve that to how come you're a smallie vet then and not an equine vet?
So I think it's mainly because my first job just ended up being smaller. I ended up in a really nice first opinion practice in Rugby, and I went for an interview there and just really liked it and ended up there and just ended up staying in small animals really. But it's sort of nice in a way, because it means that the horses have stayed completely as a hobby. And whenever I've been down the yards, if anyone asks me about horses, I can honestly just say, sorry, it's not really my area. I just concentrate on the dogs and cats. So it's sort of been quite nice to keep it as a this is my hobby area, this is my work area. So it's worked out quite well, actually.
Yeah, that is quite good. And to be perfectly honest, I can't imagine that in those pressure situations. I mean, obviously you're great under pressure anyway, because that's the delight of emergency, is that you have to be good under pressure. But you know, when it's your own animal, that's a different thing anyway, isn't it? So the thought of you actually having to
Yeah.
treat your own horse would be horrendous. So
Oh,
even if you were
don't.
an equine vet, you'd probably be like, no, I'm still ringing other people.
Exactly, exactly. I think all vets fall into one of two categories. They either wouldn't want their animal to be treated by anyone else, or can't even face doing the slightest thing with their animal. And I'm definitely the latter. I hate treating my own animals. So actually, yeah, again, worked out quite well, because now I don't have to. I don't treat them myself if I can, apart from really, really basic vaccinations and stuff. I can't, because your emotions get involved and then your brain turns off. And
it does. It's crazy. It's crazy how much you can't think when it's your own animals. You have to own dog spam, own dog spam.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it doesn't work. So Claire has said hello from sunny Isle of Wight. Thanks, Claire. Hello, and oh my God, you've got sun over there. I'm impressed. So that's lovely to hear from you. So what's your favourite part of being a vet?
Gosh, I really enjoy. I think for me, especially working emergency stuff, I really like that sort of adrenaline rush and uncertainty before you have a case come in. Obviously, at night, anything can be an emergency. It can be anything from, you know, an animal that's just had a really serious trauma, been hit by a car or something, or it could be a broken nail or something, you know. And I really enjoy that moment of uncertainty before it comes in, and sort of when you're getting ready and you're not quite sure what to expect, and the description on the phone has been something that could be not too bad, or it could be really, really serious. And I also, I think it's the same with most vets, so I really enjoy that moment when you can come back to the owner and sort of, I think it's hard in emergency because you don't have the chance to build up the bonds that you do when you're in. It's one of the things I miss about being in first opinion sort of day practice or general practice, where you can build up a bond with the owners and see them over and over again. And it's one of the challenges in emergency medicine. You have to sort of build up some trust quite quickly, because they don't know you. They're in a really scary situation.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're asking them to, you know, put a lot of trust and faith into you. And I find it really rewarding when you do manage to make that sort of quick bond with them, and you get that feeling of they're trusting you with obviously one of their most important, you know, things in their life. And getting the feeling that you're making that bond with them really quickly is really rewarding. So that's one of the things I enjoy, that, you know, as I say, you don't get that sort of long-lasting bond you get with day practice, but I really enjoy that feeling of, you know, being able to gain their trust in a really scary, uncertain situation. It's a really nice feeling.
That's a really, really lovely thing to hear. And, you know, I know that all the audience will be like, oh, God, it's so good to hear somebody that cares about that bond, because you're absolutely right. And it is a two-way thing. You know, the owners are going to be so on edge. So it's the most vulnerable point they'll ever be in their lives, is that moment where they're desperate. And, you know, I think that's everybody's fear, isn't it? Is that they're going to go to the vets and the vet won't care because they haven't ever met them before, and they have so much faith in their vet that they've known for the last 20 years. And then they instantly are like, oh, on edge. And so to hear you say how important that is, and to hear you say that that's your most important part of your job, is really quite amazing. So I know that there's going to be so many people out there just going to be clapping at you and just saying, thank you, thank you. So that's really wonderful. And it's also very cool to hear that basically you're just an adrenaline junkie as well, because you just want to know what it's going to be like and be under pressure. I feel like you need to go on game shows. But that's really cool, because you know, I must admit, I know exactly what you mean. For me, I found that the thing I found about the emergency stuff is I actually have zero patience like I just want to get it out, get it done. And that was the good thing about emergency, is because you're there to get it done, and you have to just get on with it, don't you? You can't faff around. You can't be taking hours over a situation until you do eventually, because it takes hours, but you've got to get it under control right there and then, haven't you? And
no, exactly. If you start faffing, the nurse starts shouting at you, so you learn not to.
Exactly. Oh, Abby, you're lovely. There's gonna be a million nurses out there just hailing at you as well. She knows it, right?
Exactly. If you spend hours making a decision, they get angry with you and make you, which is the right thing to do, crack on. And any decision sometimes better than no decision. So
absolutely. Well done. So Claire has jumped on again. Thank you, Claire. And she said our golden retriever has hurt her dew claw and the nail is split. Is it worth going to the vet, or is there something that I can do tonight? So Abby, is that I put it there for you to read, because I know listening to it can be a bit of a nightmare. But yes, do you think she needs to go to the vets tonight? Claire, can you add a photo? I don't know if you can on here actually.
So I mean, I wouldn't rush over in the middle of the night. It's probably going to be sore. It depends where it's split. If it's split sort of really, really near the base, it's going to be difficult to do too much about anyway without sort of sedation and stuff. And I'd probably just keep an eye on it. But if it's split further up, the vet might be able to just whip it off so that it stops flapping in the breeze and being painful. It sort of depends where the split is, but I probably wouldn't rush down to take her right now unless she's in a lot of pain.
There you go, Abby. Thank you, Abby. There you go, Claire. I hope that's answered your question. It is one of those moments you want to be able to see it, don't you, to make that decision. Yeah. So if you can add a photo, great. If you can't, then but try. Maybe you can add it. We can have a look at the end. You never know. You might be able to see on a photo. But yeah, always in doubt, bring your emergency vet. Bring your normal vet tomorrow in the morning. Yeah, that's probably a borderline one. Don't leave it too long because it's going to be stingy. So what part of being a vet still turns your stomach?
I think the thing that has always upset me the most and still upsets me quite a lot is vomit, which sounds silly because it's a really common thing, but it's not so much the thought of it, it's the retching noise. It really, really gets to me. And if I'm making an animal sick because it's eaten something, I'll normally try and be as far away from it as I can, because the minute I start hearing that noise, it makes me go a bit funny. I can cope with it, but it really does horrible things to me. So I'll normally try and leave it somewhere and run away. And it's not because I don't want to deal with the mess, it's just the noise is just horrendous. So that's my main thing.
I was going to say, it's lucky you've got your nurses in the background then helping you out, so that's not too bad. I must admit, yeah, I mean, vomit is disgusting, obviously, but it's only the one that gets me is just chocolate vomit. When it smells like sweets, that's too much. No. But the noise, yeah, it is something else. But I must admit that's all right.
And it's the Terry's chocolate orange vomit that's the worst.
Oh God, yeah. I'm sure there are other brands of orange chocolates.
Well, yeah, but
oh my God, yeah, that's horrible.
That one gets me.
So Claire says thank you. So you're very welcome, Claire. And Harriet says puppy sick. And then she says, I knew it. So I feel like there's an inside story that we should know about there. Harriet, you may need to tell us more. I'd love to hear it. So oh yeah, oh my God, I wanted to say about this, because obviously I was saying earlier about being an emergency vet, because there was a post that came up earlier on our veterinary forums that we're all part of, and this poor dog had a stick in its eye, and oh my God, that I couldn't even look at the photos. The photos, like, and I've seen that type of injury before, but that's the one that really gets me. I was like, oh my God. But yeah, the thought of that coming in, I mean, that poor owner must have been an absolute bit.
Oh my God, yeah. I saw that photo as well. It's quite gruesome, but eyeball, I'm okay with eyeballs. I did have a cat come in relatively recently with the same injury, and actually ended up fine. Actually, it's amazing how and that's again one of the things I enjoy, where you see an injury and you're sort of trying to work out how bad it is, because sometimes it's, you know, really bad, and sometimes it's not. Even when they look really dramatic, sometimes they're not as bad as they look. But
no,
yeah,
absolutely.
that was quite gruesome.
Yeah, I bet you have seen some horrendous things in your time, and you're just like, whoa, it's unbelievable, isn't it? So Harriet also says, ask Abby about a little Cocker Spaniel puppy, and she's got crying, laughing face. Do you want to share that story right now, or do you need some time to think about it?
I need some time to think. I can't
Harriet,
remember
you need to give us more clues on this one.
Cocker Spaniel.
Okay, no worries. I've got way more questions anyway, so it's all good. We've got plenty of time. So what would your dream achievement be if time and money was no object?
My dream achievement. That's a tough one. I have to say, I heard someone else on another Cup of Tea with a Vet saying about going out to become work on a nature reserve or something. That'd be amazing, actually, to spend a few months working, I don't know, maybe in a safari park or something. That'd be awesome. Something like that, probably.
That would be very, very cool. That would be very cool. An emergency in that type of environment as well would be really, it'd be really bonkers, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But I don't think what you'll end up. Yeah, you'll have, oh, he's got a crocodile wrapped around his leg. It's still there. Oh, brilliant. Oh, God. Yeah, that would be horrible. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
She went down the wrong hole. It's all right. She hasn't got COVID and it can't spread through computer screens.
No, exactly.
I know, you get paranoid every time you have to cough now, don't you?
Yeah.
So if you could do a Facebook live chat with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Dead or alive, I guess. That's a good question. Dead or alive? Wow,
I'll do the countdown. Come on, you're supposed to be good at emergency. This is a question.
Very specific type of emergency.
Not an emergency question, okay?
No. I've gone completely blank.
The Queen. Come on, no one's ever said the Queen yet, and I want someone to say the Queen. The Queen would be awesome to talk to. I'd love to talk to the Queen. Old people have amazing stories.
I wouldn't know what to say to her.
She's like the coolest. She was a mechanic. Did you know that the Queen was a mechanic?
No.
Can you imagine the Queen being a mechanic?
No, really?
Yes, I'm totally serious. That is why I would love to talk to her, because she seems so completely normal. While actually being raised by a governess. I mean, she was private homeschooled and stuff, which makes her completely bonkers. Not part of the planet. But then she's a mechanic during the war, and I just think it's amazing, isn't it? And I watched far too many royal documentaries. I find them interesting because then you find out facts like she was a mechanic, and they're
interesting. I think this is really, really random. The first one that comes to mind is Ian Thorpe, swimmer.
Okay.
I used to swim loads, and it used to be my kind of main sport, and it's just really inspirational. He'd be really interesting to talk to.
Oh, there you go then.
Really random, but.
Did you do it competitively?
Yeah, at school I used to, only to county level. I used to do it a lot at school, and then I stopped to concentrate on, A levels and uni and stuff.
That's a reasonable choice. Thought you were going to say boyfriends then.
No, absolutely not.
That's fair enough. So Laura has asked, how many animals do you have and what type?
I've only got one cat at the moment. I've got a little dog on my mug. That's Lola. Sadly, she passed away last year, so Lola's no longer with us. So we've just got a little cat called Odd Thomas now. And I got him through work, as a lot of vets and vet nurses do, pick up waifs and strays at work.
Yep.
He came in one weekend as a little kitten. He had a really nasty wound on his leg, and he couldn't use that leg at all, and I thought he was going to lose his tail as well because the wound sort of wrapped up all the way up his leg and around his tail. But he ended up keeping his leg and his tail, and yeah, so it was really nice. It was really nice. Actually, it took weeks and weeks for him to go back to normal, and he still has a sort of limp, and his tail doesn't work very well, but he gets around and he hunts, and he's really, really lovely. He's so good to my daughter, so he's still with us at the moment. So it's just him at the moment. Hopefully we'll looking to add a dog at some point, but Odd's doing the job at the moment.
That's fantastic. Can I ask where that name came from? Because Odd Thomas is the coolest name I think I've heard in ages. So where did that name come from?
It's again comes back to one of my hobbies. It's one of my favourite books, Odd Thomas by Dean Koontz, and there's a whole series based on Odd Thomas.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, it's so good. Dean Koontz is one of my favourite authors, and just because he was odd, because he was limping around the place with his funny tail, so it just seemed like the perfect name, really.
That's very, very cool. I like that. That's a good story. Oh wow, that's really, really cool. Oh bless. So yeah, that's fantastic. So tell us something that people wouldn't know about you.
Probably that I think the first thing that comes to mind, I rode an ostrich once when I was in South Africa. That's probably my most random, random fact.
That is very random. What was that like, besides totally weird?
It is really weird because so it was I went to South Africa as a sort of was like an eco volunteer for a couple of months when I was younger, and we all went off to Cape Town for the weekend, and one of the activities we did was ostrich riding. And it's funny because when you're riding a horse, there's a lot of horse in front of you. You've got shoulders and a big neck and head, and when you're riding an ostrich, there is nothing. There's just this skinny long neck and a tiny head, and you feel like any moment you could just sort of topple over, and they're so fast as well. So
I can't imagine. I can't really imagine how you sit on them, if I'm honest. You know, like, do people fall over their heads?
They must do. I literally didn't do more than a couple of I didn't go more than maybe a few meters because I didn't know what I was doing. So I can't really tell you how people stay on because I absolutely didn't. But we watched the race afterwards, and they stayed on for the duration of, however far that was, which was incredible.
Do they have saddles?
I'm trying to think. No, you just sort of sit on them. I can't really explain it.
How do you even get on? I have zero experience of ostrich riding, clearly.
I'm trying to remember. It was a long time ago. Yeah,
I think
you just fling a leg over and just sort of hold on.
They're quite tall,
hold on to. It's just a neck.
You'd have to get on from a box. You're not just going to fling your legs straight up over an ostrich.
I must have done. I can't remember. It was really good fun though.
Oh bless. Well, at least you had some fun. That is really good.
Yeah.
And yet totally random and totally weird. Yes, I'm glad I asked that. Well, I was going to say, what's the most spontaneous thing you've ever done, but I feel like it's going to be the same answer.
It probably could be, but I think that our kids. So another time, I went to Nepal with a really good friend of mine, and while we were out, I think we were out there for 6 weeks, and while we were there, we hadn't done any planning or training or anything, but while we were there, we decided to do the Everest Base Camp trek, which took 2 weeks.
Wow.
So we just randomly, just had to buy all our stuff out there in Kathmandu and just did it. It was a lot of fun. It's amazing. Really, really cool thing to do.
It's spontaneous.
Yeah.
2 weeks spontaneity. Oh my God. That's incredible. That's very, very cool. Oh, you're a very exciting person. You've done a lot. That's amazing. So Olivia has kindly jumped on. Thank you so much, Olivia, for asking a question. And she wants to know, what is the strangest animal you have treated?
While I've been qualified, I had once someone bought I suppose it's not that weird, but it was quite an unusual situation. Someone brought a snake in, which had they'd given it like a sort of wooden hamster tunnel toy, and it had slithered through the toy and got stuck. And and I think because it'd been stuck for not for a long time, but long enough for it to get sort of a bit swollen and sore, and there was no way of moving it forwards or backwards. So we had to, what did we do? We had to sedate it in the end and drill it out, which was quite fun, something I won't forget in a hurry. And it did really well, it was fine. And gave it some pain relief afterwards because it all looked a bit bruised and uncomfortable.
That is amazing. Those stories when they get stuck, those things that you get stuck in, they're a nightmare. It always begs belief how dogs do it, or obviously snakes do it. And blimey, the stuff that gets stuck, those it's the rings on the bird's feet as well that I always remember. We used to have to get the dental burr to try and get them off because the foot would swell or something. And
that's what I used. Yeah, we used a dental burr. It's hard to get, because it's hard to get hold of stuff in the middle of the night. So we were just like, what's going to work? That will have to do. Grab it.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. You do find yourself just clutching at whatever you can get hold of. It's quite incredible. Well done. And was the snake okay? Did you make a full recovery?
Yeah, it was fine. Yeah.
Fantastic. So Claire has jumped on again. Thank you, Claire. And she has said, if you could be a vet at an animal sanctuary helping out for a short period, where would you go? I unchanged that because she's written short and she said short later.
Yeah, that's fair enough. At an animal sanctuary, I'd probably I don't know how useful I'd be there, but I'd love to go out and help out one of the working sort of horse and donkey sanctuaries they have in places like Egypt. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I've never been to Egypt anyway, so that'd be a good excuse to go as well. But I think that'd be really cool. I could brush up on my horse knowledge while I'm there.
I think you'd be ridiculously welcomed and ridiculously good at pretty much anywhere anyway, because they just need skilled people just going over, and I think that you probably find that you'll end up with loads of this wounds and stuff that you're probably quite used to. So I think you'd be really good. So really good question, Claire. Well done. Are you touting for talent? She's trying to find somebody to go and work somewhere. She's going to say where she works now, and she needs somebody. It's a dog sanctuary, isn't it? Well done. So tell us a bit about Eastcott Vets and what it's like working there in your ICU and everything. Have you got amazing people you work with?
Yeah. Really, really cool place. So Eastcott Vets, it's a referral hospital in Swindon. They also have a primary care team, so it's quite a nice place for both of them. So I work in the ICU, the intensive care unit. So it's a sort of specialised ward for our more critical inpatients. We've got some really good equipment. Got defibrillator and things, so it's quite good like that, and cots, which are sort of, we've got like a special for our the patients that are sort of if we've got them hooked up to a lot of monitors and they're not really moving because they might be sort of quite comatose and on lots of drugs, then we have them in a cot which is sort of a bit more raised up and padded, so we can, because we'll often be sort of almost one-on-one with them, and it makes it a lot easier for us. So it's really good. So I work there, I do 7 nights on, 14 off, 15-hour shifts. So I'm mostly there, and also if we have patients from other vets referred overnight, then I typically talk to the vets about them first, and then I'll liaise with whichever department they need to go to, whether it's medicine or soft tissue surgery or neurology or anything else like that. Then and then I will speak to the vet on call, and then we'll decide between us a plan on what we're going to do, who's going to admit it, whether we can take it, so it's really well set up, and I really enjoy it because I get to I love vets now, but at Eastcott I spend more time with the same patients because they're obviously not going anywhere else during the day. They're just staying with us until they're treated and hopefully ready to go home. So it's really good. I get a lot more continuity, and because we have the sort of referral side of things, I see lots of quite cool cases and surgeries and things. So it's been really interesting for me. I've learned a lot. And then we also have, obviously we see the primary care emergencies overnight. So I'm still sort of doing a bit of that as well, which is really good. So really enjoying it. As I've said, I've only been there less than a year at the moment, so I'm still quite new. And because I work at night, I don't necessarily sort of, there's lots of the team I still don't sort of speak to very often because I just sort of never see them. So, and it's quite funny because we have a couple of other night vets who I've obviously met and are really lovely people, but I do not see them at all. I don't think I've seen them in a professional capacity since I started. We've met up a couple of times outside of work because we get on, but yeah, it's funny sort of working with them, but I just never see them.
No, and especially not with all the COVID stuff down at the moment. You're not really allowed, are you? You're just
exactly
team A, team B. So yeah, well, hopefully that'll all change eventually. But yeah, small team overnight, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So we have 4 people, which is actually quite a lot compared to what I'm used to. But it'll be me, my ICU nurse, and then there's an intern, another vet, and a ward nurse looking after the sort of primary care patients.
Wow,
whereas we're in ICU with our patients, but we sort of muck in where we're needed overnight. But yeah.
Wow, that's really quite impressive, actually. That is a lot of staff. That's amazing.
It is actually, yeah, compared to a lot of, other places.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, that's good. So I always want to ask, what do you love about physio?
Physio. So this Eastcott is the first place I've worked that has a physio. I've never really worked alongside a physio ever before, and I didn't really think I would be, but actually I've had at least 2 different cases in ICU this past week where we've been working with a physio with them. So we use physios, and obviously we're starting to get more spinal cases because we've got a new neurology service. So we've had a couple of the dogs that have had spinal surgery and maybe are sort of paraplegic in ICU, and obviously they benefit loads from having physio. But also even non-spinal cases, like we had a patient a while ago who was really, really, really poorly and was completely sort of recumbent for, I think by this point, for a couple of days, 2 or 3 days. And even though that wasn't a spinal case, we ended up asking the physiotherapist to come and have a look at the case because, muscles were just wasting away and joints were all locking up. And she gave us some really useful exercises to do just to keep everything supple and just to stop the muscle. I mean, it's still going to go, but just stop it wasting away quite so quickly and try and just keep the cat more comfortable while it wasn't really moving around much. And I didn't really appreciate how useful this is for that side of things. But actually now I'm working in an ICU which also has a physiotherapist in the same building. We've actually had her in so much, it's been really useful, and I can definitely see they definitely do get a lot of benefit from them. So it's been really interesting.
Excellent. Well, thank you for saying that and sharing so much of that story as well, which is really great, because it is, obviously for us, it's really important that we can get people to recognize how good it is and how useful it is. And you've obviously had some really good examples there, which is fantastic. And your physio based at your place must be absolutely thrilled with all of our caseload and stuff. And it's funny because obviously I do see some of your cases as well, and so I hear what your physio is saying, and it's great because we can work as a really good team as well, which is fantastic because you do get continuity between your plans as they move out to other, because obviously when they've left your referral centre, they're then going home into all their places, they travel hours, don't they, to get to you sometimes. So no, that's really fantastic, and it's really, really great story as well, because physio is awesome, obviously. I think that, and it's lovely to hear you say the same, so thank you. Barbara, you have also said, so sorry, Barbara has just said, I'm just going to pop this up on the screen so it's a bit easier to read. Barbara, Donna, if you don't want to ask that, no problem. We keep hearing about the high rate of suicides amongst veterinarians because they just work until they drop and bring so much empathy for the dogs and customers. What do you do to avoid getting this downward spiral? It's a really good point.
It is a really good question. It's sort of a really important topic at the moment amongst vets. It's brought up, you mentioned our sort of all the vet forums we have, vet groups, and this is a really common topic that people mention. So I think it's really difficult. I think everyone will have a different opinion and a different, obviously, coping mechanism for this. It is hard. I think one thing I do is I find it really important to switch off when I'm not at work. And I know I drive my boss mad because I hardly ever check my emails when I'm not at work, but I try to be quite strict about sort of having work time and home time. So I think that's really important. And
I agree.
I think it's difficult because typically the people who become vets are sort of quite driven and the sort of people who really want to do everything really well to the best of their ability. And obviously, when you're working with animals, not everything goes the way you want it to go. And it's really easy to sort of blame yourself and take it really personally. And we've all done it. We've all had cases where, for whatever reason, they've not gone well. And, I can tell you in lots of depth cases I had at the very beginning of my career that still sort of haunt me. And I think it's sort of learning to kind of, go easy on yourself a little bit. And it's easy to say that. I don't think many of us are very good at that. And I think COVID's made it quite difficult as well because in a lot of places the workload has just gone up dramatically. And sometimes it really feels like you're sort of, like Barbara said, like working until you drop. And so that's why I take my time at home really, really seriously, and I try to keep it as my time at home. And I used to be in a more sort of managerial position where I was doing a lot of, I had my phone and my laptop at home and, my work phone, and I would get calls in the middle of the night about things at work and dealing with client complaints and stuff like that. And when I had my daughter, I just decided that I needed to keep time at home for her, which is one of the reasons why I moved into a more clinical position again, where I could sort of be like, right, I'm at work, I'm at home, now I'm at home. And I find that really, really, really helps keep my head on straight. Just, keeping my own time and sort of, trying to go easy a bit on myself if things don't go so well at work. Obviously it's awful when things don't go the way you want them to. And I would love every case to, have a happy ending, but it doesn't always happen. And it is hard, but that's my main thing, just trying to sort of forgive myself for stuff that happens at work, although I don't always, but trying to, and having my own headspace at home, really.
No, that is really good. It's really important. And Barbara, thank you so much for bringing this question up, because actually it is really important that people recognise that vets do get really stressed, and the suicide rate in veterinary profession is ridiculous. It is ridiculous, and it's unbelievable, really, because everybody thinks, oh, you just cuddle dogs all day, what's your problem? But there's an awful lot of stress and worry, and it is because you care so much. And so yeah, well done for separating your work and life, because you have to do that. We are lucky. There are now some good veterinary support, like agencies that do talking therapies and stuff like that, and it's really important that those things are embraced and engaged. And some vets are very good at doing it, but some vets are not, and that's the same for people in general, isn't it? Some people are good at reaching out and asking for help, and some people aren't, and you do have to find your coping mechanism and embrace it so that you can use it and embrace mindfulness and everything else. And it's really hard. I've lost people that I know, and it's
same.
shocking.
I think it's awful, but I don't know too many other professions where you could go to someone and say, do you know someone in your profession who you know personally who has taken their life or having problems, where I think in vets most people do, sadly. I know there are many other professions like that, but I think most people personally know someone who's struggled or has taken their life or something, which is devastating. It shouldn't be like that. It really shouldn't. No. And I think that's why it's starting. I'm really hoping it's starting to become more of a topic of discussion and concern. Definitely. So hopefully something will start to change, but it's awful. It really is.
It is. Claire, thank you so much. She's just jumped on and said thank you for your honest response and for the way you manage, which can be helpful for others, which is really good. And that's true, because talking and sharing is how people recognize that, because actually I think that's the first step, is actually even recognizing that there is a problem that needs to be addressed, and accepting that it's okay that you've got a problem and that it needs addressing, and then addressing it, because I think the biggest step is even just acknowledging it, isn't it? So
completely,
so so well done. It's a great topic. And now I want to ask, what's the weirdest dream you've ever had?
Weirdest dream? I'm sure this means something. I've never sort of looked into it, but a recurring theme for me has been losing my teeth. I don't know why. It's horrible. Wow. Like my teeth just falling out. That sounds really symbolic.
Dentals. You've done too many dentals. You don't do those as emergencies.
I don't do dentals. No, I haven't touched one for years. Maybe that's why.
Oh my God, that is a bit weird. If anyone watching here is a dream analyzer, jump on and let us know what that means, because I want to know. That's freaky.
It's horrible. It doesn't sound like much, but that whole thing of when you're in the dream, you don't realise you're dreaming, then all your teeth are falling out. It's awful.
No, that is weird. And I do think teeth are very personal. And I mean, like that's tooth fairyland. There's an awful lot of meanings behind teeth and losing them. So yeah,
there must be.
Yeah, I think that's very personal to end up losing those. I don't think I'd like to lose mine. I think if that happened in my dreams, I'd be freaked out as well.
Yeah.
So that's fair enough. Barbara has also jumped on to say, thank you for your answer. Yes, it is so important to find a good balance between work and life. So yes, thank you, Barbara. Definitely. Barbara's absolutely lovely. She's watching from Switzerland, by the way.
Oh.
So we've gone global. We're going global.
That's awesome.
So if you could treat any zoo animal, what would it be?
I think giraffes are so cool. I don't have any professional knowledge of them, but I just think they're incredible.
They are.
I've got a thing about giraffes, so yeah, probably giraffes. Again, don't know anything about them beyond that they're very, very tall, but I just think they're amazing.
And one of the best facts I know about a giraffe is that they have to make more effort to put their head down than to hold it up.
Really?
How cool is that? Yeah. So they actually have to make, the natural position is up. So that's bonkers, isn't it?
Yeah, that's mad.
They're very cool animals. So Lucy, thank you so much. She's been a superstar and she's gone off Googling for us, and she's copied this. She says teeth falling out are associated with loss of important life changes. Or loss and important life changes. This dream could indicate that you're dealing with some kind of loss, like an abrupt end to a relationship or a job change. Has it been since you changed job?
I can't remember the last time I had it. It could have been. I can't remember.
Well, there you go, Lucy.
I knew it had to mean something.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that with us, Lucy. I'm most impressed, and that's very kind of you to do that. Lucy also wants to know, have you worked with animals abroad?
Not professionally, no. Only the trip I mentioned before, when I went to sort of work as a sort of eco volunteer in South Africa, and spent some time working on the safari. That was really, really cool. And what else? When I went to, I wasn't really working with animals then. No, that was the main thing. When I went to Africa, that was an amazing trip. I think that's why I think it'd be really. I did toy with the idea at one point at looking into becoming a sort of safari vet, but I haven't got any further than that yet. Maybe one day.
When your daughter's older, and then you can go off together.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Yeah, go and have
Mother
a
and daughter
together
trip
for a few months.
That would be really, really cool.
Yeah.
Was there any sort of? Do you remember any of the species that you treated while you were out there?
I didn't sort of do any treating really. We were just.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, I can't remember if we were doing anything even vaguely. No, it was really just sort of doing, wildlife surveys and maintaining enclosures, and there was a lot of excitement when I think someone in the park spotted a baby wildebeest by itself, and we thought we were going to go and save it and hand rear it, and then we never found it, so that was a bit upsetting.
Yeah. Oh, bless. That is sad. But hopefully it's because it found its mum. That's
hopefully,
all you can
yeah.
Exactly. That's it. It found its mum.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So Peter wants to jumped on to say, would you like your daughter to become a vet or another random profession like a lawyer? It's a good question.
Would I like her to become a vet? I think I want her to become. Obviously, I want her to become whatever she wants to be.
Of course.
But I wouldn't mind if she wanted to become a vet. I definitely wouldn't push her into it or encouraging it. I think we were talking about vet mental health earlier, and I know it's still very problematic. I think one of the issues with being a vet is I think there's sometimes a bit of people don't always realise how much. Again, it's very commonly sort of talked about in all the vet forums, but people don't really realise how much it costs, how much vet treatment costs. I think that's one of the issues that makes vets feel dissatisfied by the job is when people don't really, we're all here because we love animals and we love treating them, and people don't always realise that it costs a lot of money to do that, and that can be a bit frustrating. And so I wouldn't put her out of it, but I think I would be able to give her a much more realistic idea of what it's like than when I went into it. I'm glad I trained as a vet and I love it, but it's definitely not quite the James Herriot idea you get from reading all the books. So I think I won't push her into it, but if she wanted to go into it, that would be fine, but I would give her a very good realistic idea of what it's actually like on a day-to-day basis, which isn't nearly as much time cuddling puppies as I was hoping it was going to be, but
yeah, exactly. Unless it's the cesarean, even then you can't cuddle them.
No, exactly.
I will say this though, the unique position you've got is that exactly like you said, it, so you can at least be a support to your daughter if she ever did go into it, and you would be able to give her the support that you may never have had, if you see what I mean. So, you know, you can give her those pep talks. You know, if she has a bad day, you can talk her through it, and you know, you're someone that she would be able to talk to properly about the cases and stuff. So she would be in a very unique position from that point of view. And I will say, I mean, so my daughter's got a few more years on yours, but only by a bit. And I have not pushed her into these things at all. But my God, do they gravitate around animals? They just can't help themselves. And so she's like, she always says these things. She says she wants to be all sorts of things. And, you know, that's fine. But, you know, she managed to make herself, I'm not joking, I put a photo on Facebook because I was so gobsmacked. All of a sudden I walked in and said, what are you doing, Paige? She'd made a wheelchair for the dog, like a toy, a wheelchair out of her, like, bricks. I was like, what? Where's the house and the car and the things that people normally make?
That's so cute.
And the one that actually worked, it actually had a top that went across so that you could put it in and then close the lid. I was like,
that's
whoa.
amazing.
I know. And then other rehabbers said, you know, well, sometimes you're just born to be something. And that, and I was like, whoa. And then so my husband has a completely different, he works with like computers. So that's his profession. And then so he's always saying, oh, Paige, you do arts, you do my profession. And I'm always like, yeah, let's see. But she doesn't gravitate.
No, she's building wheelchairs, not computers. So
exactly. And so I don't think you have much choice no matter what goes on. But it is funny that it's a funny profession, isn't it? Because although you know that there's pitfalls in it, it's still amazing, isn't it? You know, it's still incredible.
It is. I love it, and I don't plan on changing to do anything else, even though it's, you know, it's really, really rough sometimes. But yeah, I'm happy doing it at the moment. So
Peter, thank you so much for asking that question. It's a fantastic question, as have all of your questions been, by the way. And Olivia also says, what advice would you give to vet students mental health wise?
That's a good question. I think, again, the most important thing is learning to just sort of go easy on yourself when something doesn't go the way you want it to go. Especially, you know, the first couple of years in practice are terrifying because you go in and, you know, you feel like you've still got a million and one things to learn, and it's really, really daunting. And I think it's just, I think just a very similar thing about going easy on yourself, and when something doesn't go to plan, just concentrating on learning from it rather than worrying and stressing about it. I mean, you obviously will, it's always going to happen, but just trying really hard to focus on what you can take to move forward with it rather than dwelling too much on punishing yourself for what didn't go well. As I said earlier, there's always going to be things like that happen, and you have to, I think it's just learning to deal with it in a healthy way rather than dwelling on it and getting upset about it and punishing yourself, because, you know, that's not helpful to anyone or anything.
Exactly.
So I think it's easier said than done, but
it is. But I think, you know, one of the things you said there that was really important was the fact that, you know, the day you graduate, that's not the day you're done with your learning. That's the day you start your learning. Really, your qualification is your base, and from there you start learning all these amazing cool things that are new and upcoming, and, you know, you really are at the beginning, aren't you? But there's new graduate programs and stuff these days, isn't there? So that they can get support now when they are entering into it and feeling particularly green. And if you find yourself a good practice, you will get mentors and you will get help. And I think it's really important to try and find those things. Sorry, I'm adding into this now.
Go for it.
I just do think it's really important to find those things. And if you don't feel supported in your practice, find another practice, because there's plenty of jobs out there. And, you know, and I think that that's really important, is that you don't think, oh, this is where I work, I have to stay here. If you're not getting the support you need, you find somewhere else that will give you the support, because you know, they are out there, and you can't just keep sucking it up thinking you're not good enough to be somewhere else, or, you know, all those negative thoughts, because there's so many negative thoughts that can come in, aren't there? That, you know, you have to do that. And then also just remembering that there are those, you know, charities, the vet support, the RCVS has got its mental mind matters. There is a lot out there to help now, and you know, if you are a vet student watching this, go talk to your teachers about it as well, because they will be able to guide you so that you feel set up and ready for your first day at an actual practice and not panicking about it, because I can imagine that must be the most scariest thing on the planet. So yeah, really good question there, Olivia. Thank you so much for asking that. So yeah, that's fantastic. So Abby, I also want to ask, you know, what's the most memorable part of your career so far?
Memorable part of my career is probably
being on here, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. I think the thing that comes to mind is my training thing that I did when I went into Vets Now, when I went to join the Vets Now, the cutting edge program.
Oh yeah.
It was so cool, because I was, as I say, joining as still quite a green sort of day practice person, and it was just, I really enjoyed the whole thing, and it really sort of, doing it really made me think, yeah, this is definitely the right thing I'm doing. I really enjoyed it, and thought it was really exciting, and met some really lovely people that I still stay in contact with, and yeah, just going into Vets Now and realising I was going to be able to concentrate on emergency and critical care it was just a really nice feeling and really exciting, and I'm obviously glad I did it, because I've stuck with it now, and even though I'm not with Vets Now anymore, still doing the ECC night side of things. So it was definitely a good moment in my career, and it's sort of, you know, stayed with me, if that makes sense.
Excellent. That's amazing. So Lucy has also joined on and said, what's the most common accident you see in dogs and cats?
The most common accident is probably getting hit by cars, I think. Most common thing, especially with cats, unfortunately. And that varies from, you know, animals that unfortunately have been hit in a really bad way and maybe don't even make it to clinic, to, you know, reasonably frequently see animals that get rushed in, and then I put them on the floor and they walk around quite happily, and they're actually fine. And I remember seeing my own dog got hit by a car years and years ago when he ran out the house, and he was fine, luckily. But again, it was terrifying. It's absolutely horrendous. And we rushed him to the emergency vet. And as I say, he ended up just being a bit bruised and sore, but he was fine. But it didn't matter. It was just the most awful experience. It was so stressful. And so I definitely feel for owners, even when they come in and their pets actually turn out to be okay. I know what it's like to be that worried, because they only come in to see me if they're really worried.
Of course.
So I know that even if the animal's fine, they are terrified and stressed out of their brains. And yeah, as I say, I know what it's like, and it's horrible. So but yeah, sorry, digressing. That's probably definitely the most common thing, I think, getting hit by cars. Yeah.
Bless you. No, that definitely is, and it's obviously spiked a memory for you, which is reasonable. Bless you. So Lucy also wants to know what theme is going on with your tree. At the moment, it's all
natural. Yeah.
Have you got a theme planned? Are you going gold and silver, or, you know?
I don't know, because we've only just moved, and we had lots of Christmas decorations we bought with us, and I can't remember what they look like. And then my husband went out the other day and bought a load more in various colours that I may not have chosen. So I don't know. Our theme is probably just going to be colourful, I think.
I was going to say, but your theme is the man did it.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said that. So thank you for that, Lucy. I just want to ask, what is your top tip for people getting through Christmas with their pets?
Keep them away from the chocolate and the mince pies, please, because I don't like making dogs vomit.
That is fair enough. Oh, by the way, it's Happy International Vet Day. I think it is.
Is it really?
Yep. International Veterinary Medicine Day. There you go.
How funny.
I know.
I totally missed that.
I meant to say that.
Someone paying attention.
So I'm going to wrap this up now. Abby, thank you so much for joining us. It's been absolutely amazing. I've had a fantastic time talking to you. And I just also wanted to say, everybody's watching, please come and join me on Friday, because hot topic at the moment is puppies. And I've got a breeder coming on to talk to us about how hard breeding actually is, and, you know, how tough it is to do it properly and how expensive it actually is. And so that's going to be an amazing conversation on Friday night. So yes, Abby, thank you so much. And thank you to our lovely, lovely audience for being absolutely amazing. I've loved having the questions. It's been absolutely incredible to have your interaction. And you guys take care and have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.